replacing some of the sheds in this yard with sheds with doors. So I think with 3 sheds across the front here, you could possibly replace with sheds. That is sheds. Ah, there you go. Something like these, which have a little bit more security, should we say. Okay, drop that. Let's go get the windrower. As I said, this actually technically a rake. Oops. Look to the back of this. Oh, it's a hydraulic. So it runs on hydraulics. So yeah, you can't use it with the Land Rover, but it doesn't have a PTO, which is why it's what 35 horsepower requirement, and that's really 35 horsepower to drag a hunking piece of metal behind your tractor. Now, how are we gonna do this? I think we do it the same way as before. Squeeze through the gate and lower it. Ah, interesting. And oh, you don't have to turn it on. That was the other interesting thing about this, is it's almost like it's driven by the wheels. That are touching the ground. I'm guessing the hydraulics are for adjustment. So in real life, you would be able to adjust the windrow width by I am messing this up very badly. Ugh. Interesting. So it seems that first wheel does not move the stuff, but or at least the first wheel on the left doesn't move grass. You can see I'm leaving a bit at the edge. And yet on the right hand side that wheel appears to be absolutely fine where it's been placed. And the other thing Cavalier Roy told us is the wooden posts in the hedges are going to have collisions on them in the new version. He got some help figuring that particular problem out, and what I noticed was if you chop one of those little wooden pegs down, it just falls through the floor. It will not do that on the new version of the map. Okay, let's lift that up. So that will be something we have to watch for. Just driving through a hedge is not a good idea, because you will impact the wooden posts. And the tree's in the way. This thing does stick. It's not an easy windrower to use. The ones with the multiple windmills, they lower in sequence, so you can position at the edge of the unrowed grass. Kind of like that. When you press the button, the front will lift and the back will not. And similarly going into a field. If I swing this about, I will admit this is not the easiest piece of equipment to use, but it is different. So lowering this here will row that row behind me. However, I seem to have a level of capability where some of that is just thrown inwards, even though the rakes are not on that piece. Now, of course, the other thing is, because we are going to be leasing the baler, any grass left over will be lost. So this may just be a it doesn't matter how good my rowing is. If we're very close to finishing a bale, we will. And if we're not very close to finishing a bale, then we'll just leave the scraps on the field. And then, because I'm ploughing it, they'll disappear anyway. So, no biggie there. Yeah, we started using. It's one thing I do whenever I move somewhere new is I start a new. Thing. Sort of herb and spice cabinet. Always have. So I always have a decent supply of lots of different herbs and spices. And I've actually stopped buying the blends. So, things like curry powder and taco seasoning and all that sort of thing. Because you can make your own out of the base herb ingredients. I don't know why I'm running up and down the field. It may be more advantageous to go east to west. I think it's east to west. Yeah, east to west. But I've really just been running up and down. I guess, well, I have a feeling the field is wider than it is long. Long being the direction I'm currently doing all of this work. Also, depending on the horsepower requirements of the baler, going across the field might have been the better choice. We only have about 150 horsepower on this tractor. Oh, now that is one thing I have noticed. I have used this particular tractor on at least 3 private farms, and now I'm using it on the Saturday stream farm, which is annoying because I kind of like to experience different equipment, and using the same tractor on every freaking farm I'm playing is something I like to try and avoid. Maybe I should have gone with something like the Fendt 700 because it's different. As I was saying last week, I really didn't want to use the Arian 600 because for price and capabilities, it's very close to the Valtra N, which was my go-to starter tractor throughout Farm Sim 17 and 19 until I said no more. And the other tractor I think I overused was the Fendt 500 Favorite. Just because, again, it's cheap. It's got very good horsepower for its cost. And front loader and power attachers front and back. That's kind of where this one came in. It's a little bit more pricey than the small tractors. And having a large frame is kind of good. Let's turn that one out to there as well. There you go. What I'm going to do is I'll do a pass across the top here. And get this to run down the outside. Does have a slight hitch problem. If you turn the tractor too tightly, the rake will lift. Although I don't think the rake effect lifts. How am I doing with tea? Tea should have been drunk a while ago. Still. And this was part of the Kun DLC in Farm Sim 19, I think. I do remember being able to use it on Marwell Manor. And then was surprised to see no Kun DLC in Farm Sim 22, but then Giants released them all as single standalone mods, which again can be kind of a little bit annoying because it means there's a lot of mods that you want to add to your list. Which reminds me, I am going to have to write down my mod list for this playthrough so that I can reproduce what we've got available and all the mods that I'm using. So there are going to be a fair number of patches of grass on this field once we've baled the rows. It's only when I own the baler that I get a little bit more conscious in trying to make sure I get all of the grass that's on the field, because even if it can't make a bale this time, it can next time. But leasing a baler, that's not going to be a concern, and should be good. So, and you can see, I'll try and demonstrate it as we turn out. As I turn, you see it lifts off the ground. But I don't think that affects the baling effect. Okay, so, or the rowing effect. So again, this is quite a long piece of equipment. I am not sure these sheds are deep enough. I think we're due for a hot, dry day here in real life, which is a good thing. So we spent most of Saturday afternoon spraying chemicals on plants we didn't want to be where they were, otherwise known as weeds. So that's all a thing now, just waiting for those to dry out or die off. But we do have a ton of trees encroaching into the lawn area, so yeah, take a tree limb to the face as you're driving the lawn tractor around. Some parts of grass I just can't get the deck of the lawn tractor to. And then we have a bunch of shrubs in the front yard which are getting seriously overgrown. One of which I trimmed in early spring and has grown with a vengeance. And unfortunately it's very spiky and right by the front door. So if you take a wrong step when you're opening the front door, you can get your leg stabbed by voracious plants. Now, how are you finding the Western Wilds? I must admit, I haven't looked at many. Actually, I haven't looked at many maps for Farm Sim 22. Apart from Saturdays and holidays, I haven't been playing a lot, so of anything really. So, sort of exploring new maps isn't something I've really done. But it would be nice to find an American map that I can play with, considering the rest of the family are all American. So have a slightly more American leaning. Oh, it's a survival style map. Oh. That can be fun. Okay, we are here. Let us find a baler wrapper to lease. Actually, let's... Sales haven't changed. Okay, balers. So yeah, when it comes to balers, I'm not a fan of this one because it's only got the single size. And I mean, it's 9,500 more. You get this one, which can do 180 centimetre bales. Which 9,000 litres for a hay bale, I think it is. That's kind of reasonable. Again, with this one, you're limited to the 125s. This one, you can go 180 if you're baling straw or hay, go 180. If you're baling grass and want it wrapped, you can go 150. If you just want grass bales and don't want them wrapped, you can also do those at 180. So there's a way to switch off the wrapper by just doing 180 centimetre bales. Then you're into the square bales. That has the full range of squares. That does too. Actually, does that? Yeah. Oops. That one comes in US and European version, so you can get a red one. Nice. That's so it's not. You've got a case. But again, these are all very much of a muchness. Yeah, do you want a green one, a yellow one, or a red one, or a different red one, or a different red one? Horsepower differences and weight, but functionally the size of the baler is the size of the baler. Come back. This is not the way. 155, similar. It's another square baler. Don't know how that compares for horsepower. Small round one with multiple size options, small round one with multiple size options, and then the fast bales. So I am, since I wanted to wrap my bales, I'm going something a little bit more functional. That's 150 horsepower and does the multiple sizes. What's that one? 45, yeah. So, customize. Wheel setup. Yeah, I'm not messing with anything there. Let's have pink bales. Lease. 5,000. Alrighty. And this is the only piece of equipment I'm having to lease to make the bales. So I am, so long as we make more than £5,000 from selling these bales next month, it's not an issue. I mean, obviously, if I was leasing all of the equipment, now it becomes a question of I need a bigger field to justify having that payment. Oops. And reading and driving. Not a good plan. Let's jump in the cab and see if we can find our way through these trees. Or not. Hey, it's all fun. And not something you want to be doing on the next version of this map, because the posts in the hedges. Yeah, and that's part of what I was saying here is currently all of the building assets on this version of this map aren't available, and they're not available as a separate pack. But I think Cavalier Roy was saying the assets on this map, a lot of them are alien gyms, and he has permission to use them in the map, not release them as standalones. That's fair. That's up to Alien Gym to release as standalones. And maybe he has, and I haven't looked for them. However, the ability to say, I want to knock down this this building and replace it with a different building, or the same building, or a building in a similar style that happens to be somewhere else on the map. That's I like modders who do that, and I think it on some of the farms I've played, it has been a gripe that, well, I don't like that shed there, and I want to replace it, or I want to move it. I can't move it, so I have to, because of the game mechanic, I have to demolish it and build it back somewhere else. But if we go and look in the sheds, these are all the in-game sheds, which aren't the sheds that are on this map. And then I think this is a different shed, that's a different shed. You've got the easy sheds. You've got that shed, but it's much bigger than those sheds. I don't have any of these sheds that I could just pick up and move somewhere else. And that is a common complaint I have of many map makers. I don't want to knock down, say, that shed there, and then, oh well, the only option I've really got is to replace it with that shed there. It's sort of, no, I want a different style. I want that style of shed, and if I don't have that style of shed available, it can get a little bit, for me it gets a little bit annoying. I want to be able to produce a map. Oh, hang on. Hell. I want to be able to produce a farm where the buildings at least look like they were built out of the same materials. I don't mind having a shed with yellow doors and another one with green doors because they were built at different times. See, this was what I was saying about I've windrowed the wrong way. What I'm probably going to need to do is, from now onwards, drive up the field and bale down, which is going to double the time it takes. Well, it's not going to double the time, but... And that was the complaint with Ravenport. I don't mind buildings being there, but can you please make it so I can use them? Decorate all decorations does is make an easy farmer have more than 100,000 money. And that's my view on it. I need to turn that up a bit so I can hear the beep. And that's primarily